What is your perspective of this decamping as we look at 2019?
This is quite a question that needs some kind of elaboration so that people will learn from it. And again, it places a clear perspective to where the powers are. Are the powers with the electorates, the citizens, or are the powers with the elected? Those who are there as beneficiaries but have usurped the rights of benefactors. The benefactors, of course, obviously are the electorates. When you talk about decampings, defections, the first question you ask is, are there political parties in Nigeria or political platforms? I take the latter, which clearly is what we have found in our own society. And in recent times too, because when we all started in 1999 with the transition period from military rule, dictatorial, totalitarian exhibitions in terms of governance, we were supposed to be transiting, and the nature of our transition is quite unfortunate. Unfortunate in the sense that we're losing it by the day instead of graduating in a positive sense. We're graduating in the negative aspect of it. So when people say they are defecting or they are decamping, what is it you're decamping from? What is it you're defecting from? The language in itself is that if you do not agree with something, you defect. But again, they are defecting in terms of, are you changing your attitudes, and that's why you're decamping or you're defecting, because what you promise is not obtained. Where are they coming from? The only time we had political parties then, pseudly, was when we had the APP, then the PDP, and the AD. But again, the most unfortunate thing then, and with all due respect to the person who they used to call the Cicero, Bola Ige, he was the one who scripted the whole of the ideology of these parties. But again, ever since then, you find out that we've also degenerated instead of progressing from one state to a better state. We've degenerated from bad to worse. And then as it is now in what you call the 8th assembly, or within the return to democracy, you find out that I don't know where we are, because we've so degenerated that those who came 1999 to 2003 were better than those who administered us. I wouldn't say governors, administered us, because you hardly would recognize the difference between the military rule and civil rule, because the point to which we would have transited into civil rule by adopting what you call the tenets of democracy and what is supposed to be the dividends. Is it the rule of law? Is it transparency, accountability? Is it equitability and the rest? As you list them, we have lost them by the day, and the benefactors are becoming slaves. We are also adopting, let me not say they, because I am also an electorate and a citizen of this country. We're becoming slaves in a system that should offer us our rights as citizens. And here you see that these defections for me are only for self-interest. These decampings are only for self-interest. And they're a product of what? The internal crisis of what you call people without confidence in themselves. Defecting, decamping, because now the game plan internally, what they thought they had, the powers they had, they are losing it by the minute. New players are coming in, and the new players have nothing to offer. It's becoming cabalism, where you find out a cabal. Is it about ethnic cabals? Is it about religious cabals? Is it about party cabals, those who have hijacked? Or is it about the monetary class rent-seeking cabals? And that is why you find out that these things only happen not at the beginning of every transition or at the beginning of every election or tenure. It comes at an electoral year, because they want concessions and considerations for party tickets. Why are they scared of contesting? If we say it's a democracy, the intent should be contest, and the contest should be no evil, no good, but let it be on the basis of issues. But why must it be that on the basis? But again, the lesson for Nigerians and to the electorates is all of these people who claim to be decamping are one and the same thing. You wear a shirt today, a suit. Tomorrow you wear an agbada. Next tomorrow you wear a cultural attire. Does it change Longol? Permit me to use your name. As Longol, the attitudes that Longol has paraded over time. Good, bad, ugly attitudes. Now tell me one of them that is not also a rent seeker. Tell me one of them. There is not a person who has betrayed the trust and the confidence of his electorates. Tell me one of them who has gone down to his constituency. Tell me one of them who is not a money grabber. Tell me one of them who has not cheated Nigerians. Tell me and show me one of them. But again, the lessons too, not just one lesson, the lessons to Nigerians, or my choice of words is that we should come out of our slavery and change platforms and vote people who will come into the next dispensation on the basis of their quality, not on the basis of the platform they are running on. The other one is for the constituents to also understand that it is not about their representatives determining where they should be. It is about them consulting with them and asking them to change or to remain in what they are doing. The third one, in terms of the lessons that Nigerians should learn, is that we cannot be in 18 years looking into 22nd, moving into the one that would take us right to the 20th and the rest. We shouldn't wait for these people to determine what should happen to us as a country. They are destroying this country by the minute because they have nothing to offer. And you know, the last lesson is that when you allow mediocres to preside over very important things, what do you expect if not mediocrity? Is mediocrity supposed to be celebrated in an age where we're talking about X generation? We're not talking about computer generation. We're talking about the X generation. We're talking about robotics. And now it is in the X generation. Where is Nigeria in the structure of things? So it's quite unfortunate that they're taking Nigerians for a ride. They're converting citizens to become servants. They're converting them from the servanthood to become slaves. And they're also converting slaves to become dejected, deprived of entitlements. That is a collective heritage of all of us as Nigerians. Living in a peaceful country where God has given us all that it takes to live in a country. So they are collaborating with external forces to destroy our country further. And I don't think that it's their fault entirely. It is our fault for allowing them to determine the template of engagements. So we must change it. And the thought system is that the young ones, quite unfortunate. And I keep telling people always, the generation of the 45s down to the 25s seems a wasted generation in Nigeria. The generation that is bringing us into a gerontocratic measure is creating a space for their children who are laid backs, and they don't want meritocracy to reign on the quality of what you are. Does it matter where you come from? Does it matter who your father is? What matters is what you're doing and what you have to offer. And that also goes in tandem with what some of the presidents globally who are celebrated have said. It is not what you will get. It is what you have to offer to your country. If I'm not mistaken, J.F. Kennedy of the US. But again, who can we use? And the closest to that is about what Mandela did to South Africa, who is the closest African. That even in his death, Mandela's birthday is celebrated as 100 years, July 18th, this year, born and birth in 1918. So you can imagine, live the life, a selfless life, to the service of humanity and to the glory of God. This is what should be the template for those who are representing us. And this should be the mandate of demand for those who elect them, the benefactors, the electorates, the citizens of this country. But again, I take you to Bob Marley. I love him. Philosophers in the music world, there are so many of them. But let me take you to Bob Marley. When he said, emancipate yourself from what? Mental slavery. And who can emancipate you? He said, none but ourselves can do that. Nigerians are we are mentally enslaved. If you cannot emancipate yourself from mental slavery, you first become internally enslaved. And once you're internally enslaved, the external factors would deepen your enslavement. There is no way an external factor should conquer your mind, because what God gives us, life and good health, is not in the hands of man. And then nobody determines where you get to. I always tell people there are two people in two persons. One is a superior being, that in my project is God and I. I am the one who takes the actionable, and I take it consciously. It's not about money. And every day I ask people, what is money? Money is nothing. It's just what you call a legal tender. And that is why the legal tender also defines itself by countries. Naira for Nigeria, Japanese yen for the Japanese, Chinese yuan for the Chinese, CDs for the Ghanaians. If we all believe that there is a global space, dollars for the US, pounds, even in Europe with an EU system, the euros for European countries, where you also have the Schengen visa that takes you through more than 16, 20 countries without visas. And then Britain is also fighting to keep its own pounds and the rest. So what is money? What is materialism? Is it about properties? And then I also bring you back to what the Mariah, a philosopher in his own right, said at one point. He said, even if you have a watch of £1,000,000 naira and a watch of £1 transliterated, what do? They show time. They tell you the time. And I ask people, the basic needs, what is food for? Is to satisfy. It's not for nutrition. The first primary assignment of food is to satisfy your hunger. What is clothing for? Is to cover our nakedness. It is not about how much my shirt is, how much your dress is, how much his dress is. It is about covering our nakedness so that we will be taken away from the template of insanity and saying that we're walking naked. What is a house for? And Mariah also said that no matter how expensive your bed is, you can't sleep in more than one side of the bed. No matter how expensive your house is, it's a duplex, it's a cabin, it is under the tree. What is the purpose of it? Rest, shelter. So my mindset about the consciousness and poverty, it is the way people want to bring themselves into. And poverty is a matter of contentment. You can be rich and poor. So you can be rich in health and poor in material substances. But how many days do you need to stay without food before you die? It is water that is the most important one. And water is everywhere. It doesn't matter whether you take a bottled water or you take a pond water or you take, because health and your protection is in the hands of God. And nobody can determine that for you. But again, like my late mom would always say, nobody enslaves you without your permission. Nobody takes advantage of you without your permission. And contentment, even with zero, is still contentment, because life and health is in the hands of God. So people shouldn't determine the template of your engagement. And there's no way God will allow you, because even the birds of the air don't farm, but yet they feed. Even the lilies of the valley don't walk, but yet no human being is well clothed like them. No human being is well colored like them. So what is it? That we take our potentials and seed it to people who are nowhere close to you on a template of measuring quality, but just because they've been opportuned over time and they stole a collective heritage and they are keeping it and expanding the stealing arena to accommodate their laid-back kids, their misfits that they call kids. Not on generic terms, because some families who have done this have moral teachings to their kids, but they are the minority in terms of the exceptions. So here we are. You can only be a slave if you want to be. It is with your consent that you are enslaved. And that is why I can never be a slave, because I have liberated myself from mental slavery.